are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Download the Spotify Green Room app and check out one of our Locked On rooms. And thank you for making us your first listen, as we're available on all platforms. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is being dropped on the 15th day of October 2021, where we are going to be reviewing what history will call the Gabe Morales game. Yep. Also, we're going to be looking at a surprising firing in baseball and previewing the championship series that are going to be starting this afternoon, at least afternoon here in California, for all the teams that most casual fans hate. This show is available, as we mentioned, on all the platforms and here on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at Locked On MLB Pods. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you have a smart device, please be sure to tell it to play podcast Locked On MLB, or check out some of the other great shows on the Locked On Podcast Network, including Locked On Dodgers with Jeff Snyder. Hey, let's just get down to it. A really wonderful game was played on Thursday night that will just forever be forgotten because of a horrific finale. I mean, it was everything that you want in a baseball game. It was everything. Two teams locking antlers, clutch hits, great pitching, solid defense. Two teams that went into this game each having won 109 games when you include what they did in the postseason, and just locking antlers and showing why they are so evenly matched and so determined to get to the next round, which of course is completely insane that this was not the National League Championship Series, because these are the two clearly best teams in baseball playing for the right to play an 88-win team that's well rested in Atlanta, who, by the way, is going to have home field advantage over Los Angeles. I digress. Both teams pitched wonderfully. Both teams got huge outs when they needed. Urias pitched great. Webb pitched great. All the bullpen arms did their jobs until the ninth inning. And Betts got his 4 hits. Ruff hit 2 bombs before finally hitting the game-tying home run. It was everything you would want in a classic matchup. And to the point where they're bringing in their Hall of Famer Max Scherzer to get the final out. And all right, this is my biggest problem. There's 2 problems that I have, and they both involve technology. We all saw that was not a check swing to end the game. It wasn't. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. That was not a check swing. Now, why Morales called that, I don't know. I don't know. But he just, and what was, to the naked eye, didn't look like, nope, I decide to end the series now. To have Max Scherzer strike him out at the end, or someone make a great play at the end, that the finale is something spectacular. Either way, you tip your hat to the Dodgers or the Giants. Both teams deserve to win this game. Both teams left their blood out on the field. And so to have it be ending on a garbage call is kind of heartbreaking, because that's what people are going to be talking about. But also, why is that not reviewable? We all saw over and over again, no, that wasn't a check swing. So let's get back. That's why we have instant replay. But no, we don't, for reasons I don't understand. Again, if he strikes out, Dodgers deserve to win that game. They did, because they got the big hit when they needed to in the 9th inning. And one of the sad things what's going to happen is the focus is going to be put on that horrible call, and not the fact that the Dodgers, were down 2-1 and won the final 2 games, and won in the game today where they didn't have their bats going, save for Mookie Betts. And so you should give the Dodgers absolute boatloads of credit for what they did. And this is coming from someone, I'm going to unabashedly say I was rooting for the Giants. I was rooting for the Giants because they were my dad's team. And I lost my dad this year, and there was just something so magical about the Giants having this incredible year. But the Dodgers had an incredible year too. They won 106 games in the regular season. The greatest defense since was it the 1931 Philadelphia A's, the greatest season that a defending World Series champion had in the regular season was this year's Dodgers team, and they nearly lost the wild card game. We'll get to that game later on. So it just makes me disappointed, though, that, you know, instead of tipping your cap to the Dodgers, hey, they got the run off of Doval, who was unhittable up until the ninth inning. Give them credit. Give them credit for getting the hit when they needed it. Bellinger getting the hit when he needed it. That's putting so much pressure on them. Instead of that being the story, and Urias, a guy I don't like because of his background and because of the violence and the controversies around him, okay? I'm not getting into that right now, but I've been not exactly shy in saying that he's not one of my favorite players. He was terrific today. And Scherzer, just a couple of days after that incredibly disappointing game for him where he was unbelievably great, but let up the home run to Evan Longoria. And boom, he got the loss. Well, now he came in and he got the save. There's another thing I just want to say. There was a couple of calls, and I'm quibbling over calls, strike calls here and there. Both teams got gifts. But why don't we use the automatic strike zone? Seriously, what are we doing here? And it drives me a little crazy when a pitcher like Max Scherzer gets some calls that are like, you know, gift calls. Max Scherzer doesn't need help. You would think those gift calls would go to some rookie who's struggling. But the fact of the matter is, if we see what the strike zone is, and the ball goes in, the ball goes out, we see instantly. Then why are we still using this antiquated system of someone's opinion? That's what drives me crazy, is that we're adding opinion to this. Okay? If it's a strike, it's a strike. It's a strike whether it's Max Scherzer or some schmuck that they just called from Sacramento. And you shouldn't be rewarded because you're a Hall of Fame pitcher. You shouldn't be penalized because you're struggling. If you throw a strike, you should throw a strike. And we see what it is. Oh, he calls a high strike. He calls a low strike. No, there's a strike zone. We see it. Use it now. It's insane. And the fact that this human element has ruined the discussion of what should be a classic game that should be talked about for generations to come. And maybe it will. Maybe the whole Morales thing will have subsided in the next few weeks. We're going to see that. We're going to see what's going to happen with Los Angeles when they face Atlanta. I think Los Angeles is going to clobber Atlanta. I don't think it's going to be close. Now, of course, my predictions haven't exactly shown me to be the next Nostradamus here. I thought we were going to have a Brewers-Rays World Series, but I just don't see I don't see any team beating the Dodgers. I don't. And there is something kind of potentially glorious for Los Angeles fans right now. And mind you, I'm in Los Angeles County right now. You know, the Dodgers are playing right down the street. There's a possibility if I play my cards right, I might be able to get an NLCS ticket or two. But the fact of the matter is this. The Dodgers are going to the NLCS. The Giants are not. The Giants had a wonderful season. It was a magical season. And it was a season where the sum of the parts exceeded the parts themselves. And by the way, the Giants are a heavily analytical team. They dive headfirst into the analytics. So if anyone says that analytics don't work, look at the 107-win Giants, who did so without a Cy Young contender, who did so without a real MVP candidate, did so with a bunch of nobodies and pretty good players, and a manager who last we saw him was a complete dope in Philadelphia. and they crunched the numbers and spat out 107 wins. There's no universal analytics. It means you're analyzing data. That's all that means. And the analytics team in San Francisco obviously did a pretty good job this year. And they lost by the absolute narrowest of margins to a team that had the greatest defense of a World Series championship since the days of Connie Mack. So for people who poo-poo analytics, it worked for San Francisco. So, Poppy, I'm sorry. There's not going to be another World Series this year in San Francisco. I think they'll be good next year. I think they'll be good. But alas, the Dodgers move on. And the Dodgers are a worthy team. Absolutely, they're a worthy team. You win 106 ball games, you're not a chump. And, I'm going to get into my picks of the League Championship Series soon, but Mookie Betts is showing he's a big game player. Max Scherzer is showing that whatever they gave Washington was a bargain. If the players they sent off become all-stars, perennial all-stars, a Hall of Famer, it's worth it. Because Dodgers are going to go to the World Series. Again, I'll make my picks later, but I think I'm showing my hand a little bit here. I don't think I'm going on a real limb when I'm saying. With that being said, it's a marvelous series between the Giants and the Dodgers. It had everything you could want in that matchup, everything, except a decent ending. That was the only thing it was missing. And that's a real shame. That's a real shame. But alas, you can't have everything. And even the Giants, they're going to have to find something to, satisfy this empty feeling of losing this game. My recommendation is to get a Built Bar. Built Bars are the best tasting protein bars out there, and they got something for everyone. Coconut, cherry barcia, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate, and my personal favorite, which is raspberry. And if you don't know what to choose, why don't you get yourself a mix box where you get 2 out of those 9 flavors. You get 2 of each of those 9 flavors. You know what I mean. Hey, they're good for you too. You get 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, 4 or 5 grams of sugar, only 4 or 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty and all healthy. Order today and get the grasshopper cookie or raspberry, whatever you want. Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team, which I think is pretty neat. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCK15. You'll get 15% off your next order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com for Built Bars. Hey, let me tell you something. The Cardinals let go of Mike Shildt. I don't know why. I'm stunned by that announcement that they let go of Mike Shildt. They had a 17-game winning streak. They were on the outskirts of the playoff picture, and then they made the wild card game and almost beat the Dodgers. It was tied going in the 9th inning. And when Shildt took over from Matheny, he got them playing pretty well. They made the League Championship Series in 2019. They were in the playoffs in the truncated season. And after underachieving for most of the years, came off like gangbusters and ran off with that second wildcard spot. And he got fired. And, it's kind of a weird thing because, every time you think about, well, what teams are going to have managerial openings? And, you inevitably look at the bad teams. You very rarely think about the good teams, but almost every year there's a team that did well that kicks the manager to the curb. Last year, the White Sox made the postseason, albeit an expanded playoffs, for the first time since 2008. And they fired Rick Renteria to bring in Tony La Russa. And now the Cardinals, who had that spectacular finish to the season and was, as I said, in the National League Championship Series as recently as 2019 under Shildt, and off he goes. And so you're talking about a franchise that if you are a manager with aspirations of winning and being a legitimate contender for a while, you take a look at this Cardinal team, especially when you know you have your corners set with Goldschmidt and Arenado, and you've got a bunch of solid players on that team, and a baseball crazy city like St. Louis. Man, you would think that this would be one of the most coveted jobs of all time. There was they said, a difference in philosophy, which is always a head scratcher. I don't know what that means. Maybe they're going to go a totally different direction. Maybe they're going to embrace analytics in a way that Shildt didn't do it. I don't know. Maybe Aaron Boone would be the perfect fit for this Cardinal team. I don't know the answer to that. But it made for a strange headline. It also made, when I was listening to Buster Olney's show on ESPN, and Olney is a huge supporter and borderline shameless supporter of Aaron Boone as the manager of the Yankees. And he was like, well, if they get rid of Aaron Boone, who are they going to get? I'm like, well, off the top of my head, I could think of Roberto Kelly and Hensley Mullins, anyone who was a lieutenant under Bruce Bochy to come in. I mean, it's right there. Anyone with real managerial experience would be someone I would think to put in. But now you have Mike Shildt, a guy who did, at least from an outsider's point of view, a solid job. And I think that when you look at the fact that the Mets need a manager, probably the Yankees are going to need a manager, the Padres definitely need a manager, why wouldn't they look at someone like Shildt, who's had managerial experience, has multiple years in the postseason, and has cut his teeth as a manager with another franchise where he kind of knows what to do and what not to do? An interesting thing, though, and I think this is important when you take a look at a event like this that could be shocking, especially for those who, I'm not a Cardinal fan. I've never been to the city of St. Louis in my life. I follow baseball. Obviously, I do this podcast. And by doing this podcast and following baseball, that means I also, will follow the Cardinals and what happens to them from time to time. But I went on to Cardinal Twitter. And Cardinal Twitter is not always a pretty place to be. But there was no shortage of people who were diehard Cardinal fans who were acting when it was rumored that Shildt was going to be having a contract extension just a few days ago. And I wonder if that was part of it, that they were negotiating a contract. I wonder if it was a money thing. I wonder if Shildt said, I want more control over A, B, and C, and the organization said no. There's a couple of more than one thread that I read where one was St. Louis fan 006457. I'm sure that has some significance. So the problem with Mike Shildt, treats important games like spring training, goes to the same struggling pitcher over and over, has pitchers bat for themselves, then changes pitcher because who needs a pinch hitter in a crucial spot. Basically was constantly did this whole long thread of there's Shildt's tendencies for bad in-game management. And I think it's sometimes important to listen to the fans for this reason. They're the ones, Cardinal fans are the ones who follow the ins and outs of a manager day in and day out. And they're the ones who can see, man, this drives me crazy. I remember when Grady Little was fired after the 2003 playoffs, and more than one person said, I can't believe he made that one decision to leave Pedro in the eighth inning against the Yankees, and they fired him for that. And for those of us who follow the Red Sox closely, we all said, no, that was just the one thing you saw. Grady drove us all bananas for how he handled and managed the game. So this might be a situation that maybe he was doing a lot of stuff that we didn't notice. Keep in mind, the Cardinals, the team that I picked to win the National League Central, underachieved until that wild winning streak. So maybe there were a lot of things that got him to the point where they need to go on a frantic, 2.5 week drive to get to the playoffs. Like, why did it take that long? So while I think this is shocking that we look up and we see that Shildt has been fired, especially based upon the great finale to the season and the fact that they almost upset Los Angeles in the wild card game, maybe, just maybe, there was something going on there. Maybe the way he handled the team wasn't great. I don't know. I don't follow the team as closely. Or maybe they have their eyes on someone else. Now, if it's someone who's going to be more analytically savvy, then it's probably not going to be a marquee name like a Buck Showalter or a Mike Scioscia, dusting someone else off of retirement the way Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa came back in the last couple of years. It's probably not going to be someone like that. Unless they offer to Yadi or Molina, saying, you get to be player manager your final season. I don't know. It's not going to be Jose Oquendo, who all he did was be La Russa's lieutenant for 2 decades and didn't get the job. They gave it to Matheny and they gave it to Shildt. Matheny certainly wore out his welcome by the end. It seemed like the team responded well to Shildt, but I don't know. The Cardinals seem like a very smart organization, and maybe they did the right thing. I don't know the answer to that. Chances are you don't either. But it is a good bet that whoever signs on with the Cardinals is going to inherit a team that is going to be favored to win the National League Central. And that's going to be a very, very attractive job for any prospective manager they want. And if you want to make bets, go to BetOnline. It's the #1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface and even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the #1 source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use your promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From football, baseball, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, so Friday, the National League Championship Series was set last night. It's going to be hosted by Atlanta. Absolute insanity. The 88-win, I know I'm harping on this, but the 88-win Braves get home field advantage over the 106-win Dodgers. Very easy fixes, folks, but here we go. But that's the way it's going to be. The one thing that I think Dodger fans should be very happy about that particular setup is that when the Dodgers sweep the Atlanta Braves, they will clinch the pennant in Dodger Stadium. You'll have a home clinching LA Dodger fans. So, and I think it's going to happen, and I would have no problem with it. I don't want to see the Braves in the World Series. I'm sorry, Braves, if you think that's anti-bias, but I think the Dodgers and the Giants are the 2 best teams in the National League, and one of them deserves to be in the World Series. I won't scream bloody murder if the Braves get in. There are many players on the Braves that I like. I'm a huge fan of Freddie Freeman. I love Ronald Acuna Jr., but how weird would that be if they win the pennant without him? It's not going to happen. Look at the Braves might be able to squeeze one game, maybe squeeze one game, but the chance of that happening, chance of more than one game, I think are almost zero. And I think the chance of winning one, I think it's a clean sweep by LA. And if it is indeed a clean sweep by LA, think about what we have moving forward. The Astros cheated in 2017. The Red Sox cheated in 2018. And assuming the Dodgers are going to beat the Braves, they're going to get a chance to exact revenge on one of the 2 teams that didn't win fair and square against them. Now, I think there's, Astro fans always wonder why the Red Sox don't get the same scrutiny. I think one thing is that the series between the Red Sox and the Dodgers did not seem as airtight. It was almost a sweep. And the series between LA and Houston was razor thin, a bounce here or a bounce there, and you found out that the games weren't being played on the up and up. That's why Okay. Astro fans, you're going to have to get used to the fact that people are going to refer to your team this way, even though there's some things that logically should point to more people being mad at the Red Sox. As Stacy Gatsoulias of Locked On Yankees pointed out, Alex Cora is the manager of the Red Sox, and he was suspended for what he did in his role of the 2017 Astros cheating scandal. And of course, the shenanigans that the Red Sox were doing in 2018 as well. And he seems to have, he was suspended for his role in that. And no one seems to bring that up. And it's much easier to get mad at the Astros than think about the fact that the Astros are playing under incredible scrutiny and under an incredible microscope all year long this year. And the chances of them doing any sort of cheating is pretty low. And the Red Sox suddenly got great again when Alex Cora became the manager, which makes you wonder, was there any shenanigans happening behind the scenes? I don't know, but all I know is the Dodgers are probably going to clobber the Braves and be able to exact revenge on one of those two teams. And which one of the two teams shall it be? Well, it suddenly got a lot more interesting because I was going to say, and Astros fans, please make note of this, I was going to pick the Astros in 5. I think the Astros bats were just better, and I think potentially clobber the Red Sox. And I thought it was going to be in 5 games. However, Lance McCullers Jr. is hurt. He's their best pitcher. And I think that it suddenly evens things out. Nathan Eovaldi is going to be rested and ready to go. I don't know what anyone's going to get out of Chris Sale. I don't know what anyone's going to get out of Eduardo Rodriguez. Nick Pivetta and Tanner Houck could get starts, or they could be their super relievers like they were in the series against Tampa Bay. I don't know. Neither do you. But I suddenly think that the big advantage that the Astros had, which was, they both have big bats. They both have a bunch of pitchers in their staff, but not the super depth that they had before. But I think taking McCullers out of the situation suddenly evens the series up a little bit. I am going to make a prediction. I do think the Astros are still going to win. I think they're going to win in 6 games. And Fox is going to be thrilled because they can play up the storyline of the Dodgers and the Astros and revenge for 2017. And Astros fans, you're going to have to be used to that. I'm not saying don't root for your team. I'm not even saying it's fair, but that's the storyline. And you could scream at the Tides all you want. That's the way it's going to be. I was listening to my favorite podcast today, which is Never Not Funny, which is hosted by Jimmy Pardo, who's been a guest on my old podcast. And he was talking, he's a gigantic White Sox fan. And when he was talking about the series, one of the people involved in the show, Garen Cockrell, who is not a baseball fan at all, was talking about the Astros playing the White Sox. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's strange they're allowed to just keep playing. They're a bunch of cheaters. And Garen has said openly he doesn't follow baseball, but he knows the Astros cheated. Much like, growing up a big Boston fan, and it always angered me when people blamed Bill Buckner for the 1986 World Series because what he did was so overrated. There were so many other factors, and the Red Sox had already allowed the Mets to tie the game. So if he made his play, it would not have ended the World Series. But I also eventually just got to know that's what people are going to say. I can't stop them. It's not correct. Now, this is a little bit different because the Astros did do something. There were suspensions. They did do it. But the fact that people are going to talk about this team as if they're still doing all the stuff, even though they're almost certainly not, you just have to get used to that's the storyline. And if it is indeed Astros, Dodgers, then just don't be overly sensitive. Cheer on your team. Put on your orange sunrise shirt. Wish that, Cesar Cedeno was on the team. Whatever you want to do. But know that that's coming. Red Sox fans know that everyone hates us. Everyone hates the Red Sox and the fans. and that the Red Sox are the bad guys now for a lot of ways. And that Alex Cora is basically has gotten away with a lot. We all have to get used to that too. And that the Dodgers are going to be looked on as the good guys, as the heroes, as a chance to be the first team since the Big Red Machine to repeat as World Series champions as a National League franchise. There have been a few done in the American League. The Yankees and the Blue Jays have done it in the American League. No National League team has won back-to-back World Series since the 75 and 76 Cincinnati Reds. And I think that the Dodgers are going to make very quick work of the Braves. And then they're going to face the Dodgers, the Astros or Boston. I think they're going to make quick work of them too. I think this is a Dodgers championship year. And Poppy, I hope you had fun watching the Giants. But the Dodgers are really good. And hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun. This October is going to get super dramatic. And it's odd that the team with the longest championship drought currently still alive are the Atlanta Braves. We have to go all the way back to 1995. Everyone else has won recent titles. Whether or not you acknowledge them, that's up to you. But just like when Barry Bonds was there waving to the crowd, you may not acknowledge the fact that he is the home run champion, but he has factually hit more home runs than anyone in the history of Major League Baseball. Just like the Astros factually won the 2017 World Series, and the Red Sox factually won the 2018 World Series. And I think that it will soon be factual that the Dodgers are going to win this one. But man, I wish that series ended other than on a check swing. But we are going to continue, and you can always check our swing on Twitter at Locked On MLB Pods. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Wishing obvious things could be reviewed, giving the Dodgers their due, wondering what's happening in St. Louis, and saying, Astro fans, don't go boo-hoo. Doing totally impromptu poetry. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan, on the 15th day of October 2021. Is that still the year? Please call me Sully. And thank you again for making us your first listen, as we're available on all platforms for free. This is Locked On MLB. To Delu.